Hey there, lovely listeners. Welcome to Uniquely Wired Podcast. I'm your host, Nani. On this podcast, we uncover the beauty and nature of autism through heartfelt conversations. Let's jump in. What's up, podcast fam? Welcome back to the Uniquely Wired Podcast. I'm your host, Nani. And on this episode, I will be talking about why I chose to pursue an ADHD diagnosis. Y'all, when I tell you I have been postponing doing this episode so many times, for many reasons, I think because also I'm still grieving, I'm still accepting, I'm still processing this diagnosis. Even though I knew, even though I had done my research and somewhat prepare myself to like the possibility of being diagnosed by a professional. Um, and so, I mean, I'm here though, and I'm proud of myself for even being here and doing this episode. So yes, it is a solo episode. It is me, your host. Um, and so I am actually excited to dive a little bit into this. I do have my notes on my phone, so excuse me if I'm looking down. I just want to stay focused. Um, but yeah, this episode won't be long. It'll be a quick episode, straight to the point. There will be more episodes where I will dive deeper as well into the ADHD conversation. I am planning to have professionals on here, such as therapists, and also people that are living with ADHD themselves. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking more about ADHD on here and not just autism, but also ADHD. So let's go right into it. Why I chose to pursue an ADHD diagnosis. So, you know, I think for me, I started noticing, difficulty focusing and how it was really playing a big role in my life, especially as I'm getting older. It's being more visible, and even my husband is noticing it. So that was that, feeling overwhelmed or not understanding why certain tasks seem harder than for others. Like completing certain things are just, I mean, it's just hard for me. Um, and just processing certain things. To me, like things have to be explained, like broken down very good to where I can really, really understand. It's almost like I learn like a child. Like I am a very visual learner as well. So like I need all the visual cues. I need it all. Break it all down for me. And I also want to mention how common ADHD is, especially among women and adults. Um, and I just want you to know that so many people don't realize that they might have it until later in life, aka myself. I am 30 years old and I am just now, number one, recognizing that I do have signs of ADHD, recognizing that I need help. It took me now at 30 years old. And also, on top of it, being an autism mom of two kids. And just a little background, one of my brother was diagnosed in his mid 20s, which was just maybe 3 years ago, with autism and ADHD. And I think when he mentioned that, that's when I like began to be like, okay, maybe I have ADHD. Maybe I'm autistic. Like, who knows, right? But this was a few years ago and I didn't think about it. Like, as time went by, it just kind of like left my mind. I was like, whatever. It is what it is. Um, and then I find out as I'm in the process of pursuing my diagnosis, and I had made an Instagram post, and my mom reaches out to me like, I don't know if I ever told you, but I have ADHD. She's like, I was diagnosed at a younger age. And I'm like, really though? Like, mom, where have you been this whole time? But, it's not her fault. It's really not. I think, the way society is and the way like people make you view life and just the world, um it's hard, and we can become so dismissive of those things. And I think it's also the acceptance part of it. Like, no, this is not me. Like, I don't have this. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I think it was just she just didn't see it, she didn't really understand the full thing, because you can be diagnosed with ADHD and not even care to look into it, not even care to educate yourself. To be honest, people just go like, okay, like, this is what you diagnosed me with, and let's just go on with life. It is what it is. No, but reality is that you should do your research, you should educate yourself. And I think, I've learned to advocate because I'm such a huge advocate for my kids, that I'm like, how could I not be an advocate for myself? Like, how dare me not advocate for myself? And so, I think my mom disclosing that with me, yes, frustration came along with it. But at the same time, I feel like it unlocked the possibility of me seeking for my own help. I am now an adult. I'm no longer under her care. I'm no longer under her authority. I am now my own person. I now make my own decisions, right? So I had to do that. And also, let's just break down the stigma that's around ADHD and really any diagnosis. I was wrestling with those feelings of self doubt, shame, or fear of being labeled. To be honest, I was fearing for that. I didn't know how people were going to view me after that. I was like, if I now disclose that I have ADHD and I've been diagnosed with it, um how are people going to view me? Are they going to feel bad for me? Are they going to feel sorry? Like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that you have ADHD. It's going to be okay. Like, you're fine. And just become also dismissive rather than embracing me and embracing the person that I am, um and really that I have been masking all these years. That's reality. And this is the thing, like, for me, it's all here. It's all in the brain. And one thing I don't like is that ADHD is under the mental health umbrella. It's like consider a mental illness. If you didn't know, I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned that. And the lady that was, that's the host of the podcast, she was interviewing a doctor, and he said, yes, it's considered a mental illness. However, not everyone views it that way. And she was expressing how, yeah, I don't view it that way. She was saying how she views it as a neurotype. That's how I view it. I view ADHD as a neurotype and not a mental illness. I don't want to have to view myself like I have a mental illness, because I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just a different type of neurotype. You think differently, you process things differently, you need a little extra help. I feel like it's very similar to autism in some ways, not in all ways, so don't come for me. I'm just saying in a lot of ways I feel like ADHD is very similar to autism. And so I just felt like it was important to seek help, despite of the challenges, especially if daily life is being impacted. And to me, yes, a lot of things in my daily life and my daily routine um, was being impacted, or really is being impacted, because I'm doing this episode literally just a month after receiving my diagnosis. So I can't even go far ahead until like how it has been. But like throughout the years, I've noticed like how I've been so impulsive in a lot of situation and a lot of things, whether it's with spending money. And I'm just being straight up with you guys. I'm being as vulnerable as I can be. The impulsivity part of it is real. It is real. And the shame that comes after you have done that impulsive decision or you've made that impulsive purchase, it's real. And so to me, like the impulsivity part and the hyper focus, me noticing that I would start something and then all of a sudden I have become distracted with a whole different thing. And then I'm like, shoot, I forgot that I had started that task. Like, what is wrong with me? And I'll just start like beating myself up really mentally, because now I'm here like overthinking all these things. Like, I should have done that, could have, would have done, and I just don't do it. And so which is something my therapist is working with me on. Just having those visual schedules, having those visual alarms, that are helping me. Like I'm telling you, I need all these things to help me on a day-to-day basis, not just once a month, but a day-to-day basis. I kid you not, guys, I have forgotten that I have to interview someone on the podcast, and like I'll have it on my calendar, and I completely forgot I even put it on my calendar. Life goes on, right? Life just be lifing, really. That's what we be saying now. Life just be lifing. And I be forgetting that, oh my gosh, I was supposed to interview this person on the podcast today. I remember when I had to interview my son's speech therapist. Y'all don't know this, but now y'all gonna find out. When I had to interview her, this was before we launched the episode together. But when I was going to interview her, the original date that was set for the interview, she texts me literally minutes before I was supposed to be interviewing her. She's like, hey, I'm just, confirming if we're still good for today. And I'm like, what? What? I'm so sorry. And literally, y'all, and it's not even intentional. Like it happens. That's just how my brain is. And it frustrates me. Of course, frustration comes with it. I mean, how could you not be frustrated when you have been so devoted on scheduling this and getting things done, getting it set, and you just feel so like accomplished, that you have done something. And then when the time comes, you're like, yeah, I completely forgot about that. And she was so understanding. She has ADHD herself. So shout out to you, Katie. Thank you for being so understanding and so like patient with me. But like things happen. Like things really happen. Um, so, let's talk about seeking answers for self-understanding. So, a diagnosis for me has brought clarity. It's helping me explain certain behaviors or struggles that I've experienced throughout my life. And I'll explain really quick. So, looking back, and the reason I say grieving is because I'm grieving what could have been, but it wasn't. So, for example, when I was a child and I was in school, now looking back, so many things make sense, such as, oh, I didn't pass this test, or I struggle understanding class assignments, homework, projects. Like it just took me forever to understand it. And I just felt stupid in the moment. That's exactly how I felt. Now looking back, excuse me, not my plant being rude. And it's fake, by the way. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, like it just makes sense. Like I've had ADHD all along this entire time. Nobody knew, nobody cared in the school. Okay. Let me just put that out there. Nobody cared in the school when I was a child to say, you know what? This girl, um, she's not, she doesn't get it. Like, I think we should assess her. Nobody cared. Nobody cared to say, we should do an assessment on this girl because she doesn't understand this work. And it's literally simple, easy work. And she still doesn't get it. I needed like kindergarten, first grade work when I was in fifth grade, sixth grade. And now looking back, it's frustrating. And even talking about it makes me emotional. It's frustrating because now I'm like, man, if they knew I had ADHD then, if I would have gotten my diagnosis at such a young age, I would have had the accommodations that I needed. I would have got the help that I needed. I would have gotten the therapies that I needed extra help with to help me focus, the strategies, the tools that I needed to help me get through my school days. But no, that wasn't the case. And I think that's also why, thinking about it really now, it makes perfect sense why I'm such an advocate for my kids and them getting the help that they need and me being on top of their diagnosis, not caring what the world has to say. Because I needed that as a child. So now, embracing my diagnosis, embracing who I am, who God has created me to be, it's hard. It's hard. And for some people, it might be like, well, it's just ADHD. I think we all have some type of ADHD. Like, that's ignorant to say. Like, it's real. A diagnosis, even if because I had taken an online assessment and it said I scored an 84%. It was combined ADHD, right? There's two types, so I'm combined. And, it was different. I was like, shoot, like I really do have ADHD, right? Like it was like a shocking moment for a sec. But when you get a professional that does an assessment on you, that's asking you questions, and they're literally like, yes, for sure, you have ADHD. Like you get the official diagnosis by a professional, your therapist, who's talking to you all the time. Every other week she sees me. It's like, whoa, okay, that's that. Like you have it, sis. Now get to the help. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I see my therapist every other week. She's helping me a ton with a lot of things, and not just with my ADHD, but other underlying challenges that I've had all this time. And it's just now being brought up from the surface because for so long I have been taught to just like put it under and not face it. And so now we're dealing with that, right? Um, so she's helping me a ton with that. Then I get this book, and this is not sponsored, by the way, and I'm going to leave her information down below, her Instagram and the link to her book that's called It All Makes Sense Now. When I purchased that book, I'm telling you, it was God sent, you guys, because I believe this is her first book. I'm quite positive it's her first book. And if it's not, I'm sorry, but I'm quite positive it is her first book. And she literally launches the book when I'm in the process of pursuing my diagnosis. And I was like, what? If this isn't a God thing trying to get my life together, I don't know what it is. And so I really saw it as a sign of God, like, listen, you're not alone, daughter. I got you. Get the book, learn about yourself. It's okay. You just have a different way of thinking. You just have a different way of, processing things. And I just felt the reassurance of God over me. And it just gave me peace, right? The peace that can only come from Him that surpasses all humankind understanding. And so that's what I did. It's such an emotional relief, right? That comes from understanding that ADHD is a neurological condition, not a character flaw. I just want to say that. But it's taking me time to accept that, right? It's taking me time to understand that, listen, this is not a character flaw. This is not that you suck as a person, Nani. This is not that you just can't keep up with things. You just have a neurological condition. You're processing things differently, and it's okay. You're seeking the help. I'm doing the best that I can, doing what I need to do, trying to get the amount of sleep that I need because that's hard for me too. And again, I'm going to get into that conversation about the signs and all the things deeper in another episode because I feel like it will be super long. But yeah, like the sleeping, it's a struggle for me. Sleeping is a struggle for me. It really is. And so just finding ways to just like soothe myself and be able to go to sleep. Like, I even purchased myself stress balls, like the stress balls from Amazon to like just squeeze them. Because I find myself getting antsy and fidgety in certain places, especially when it's like awkward silence or it's just like I don't know. Like lately, like being in spaces that are it's just too much going on. Like I just become overstimulated, and I'm learning, right? I'm learning myself because for so long I was masking that, and I was just fitting in with the crowd. Nobody knew. But now that I'm slowly accepting myself, right? The unmasking is starting, and so now I feel like it's more visible. People are noticing a little more. Like, okay, yeah, something's up. Like she has challenges, whatever that may be, right? Um, but yes, I'm definitely going to get into a topic. I think I want to bring a guest on to talk about this and just, the signs that come with it, the symptoms, the things we experience as ADHDers, especially women, because, we have the hormones, we have all the things that comes with it, especially when that time of the month hits. I find it very, very difficult. Um, so that's that, you guys. And I can't talk about like how has this diagnosis has changed my life completely because again I'm still in the beginning stages of my diagnosis, but I do want to mention how therapy obviously has been a help. I'm trying to find holistic medication, so just healthier options. I don't want to go through like a doctor prescribing me something. Although my doctor did prescribe me a sleep medication, it's supposed to help with anxiety and sleep because just last month I had like what's supposedly panic attacks in the middle of the night. And I had never experienced that before, you guys. And when I tell you that I just felt out of breath, my heart was racing. I mean, I just felt so hot. I was sweating. It was bad, you guys. And so this medication, I only take it as needed. It's not an everyday medication. So she just told me to take it as needed. If I'm feeling that sense of that panic attack arising again, try to take it. Or if I'm feeling like anxious, to take it as well. But I don't want to have to depend on that. So I'm trying to go more of the holistic route and things like that. Um, so yeah, just changing my lifestyle too, what we're eating as well, because I know that eating can also affect a lot the brain and the way we process things. So I think just making sure we're making better choices. So in our house, we have been leaning more toward organic options. We shop at Sprouts, Whole Foods. If we do Giants, which is a supermarket here, then we'll go to like the organic aisle and make sure it's actually organic, because not everything organic is organic, by the way. And I'm also learning that. If I go to Target, same thing. And I'm not going to say everything in my house is organic, because I'll be lying. We're still learning. We're still, seeing what works for us and things like that, especially that I have two kids that are autistic and my son has a very limited diet. All my son eats, y'all, it's cereal bars. And I've mentioned this, which is the snack bars. And they have to be specific ones, and goldfish and apple juice. That's literally my son's diet every single day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's hard to make a full transition, but as for me and my husband, that's what we have been doing. We have been sticking more to the organic. If we do fast food, we usually just do Chick-fil-A. We have not done McDonald's in like a year. Wendy's, Burger King, we do not do any of that. Um, I don't even season my food like with all this like Hispanic seasoning. I've been leaning more toward organic options. We're just trying to do better, right? And no judgment, because again, I'm still learning. Not everything in my house is organic, and I mentioned this already, but I just feel like it has made a difference in just like me staying focused and getting through all my day much better than how I was getting through all my day, because it is so easy for me to consume myself with like junk. Um and so I wanted to make sure I'm like feeding myself properly. Um, so that's that. And then I also want to share that there is empowerment through knowledge. So I just want to encourage you that if you are in the process of seeking an ADHD diagnosis, um, you are not alone. Like, I see you and I'm proud of you, and be proud of yourself too, for wanting to seek a diagnosis, wanting to, better help yourself and become a better version of you by embracing your ADHD, by embracing yourself, by understanding yourself, giving yourself the grace that you deserve. And so I just want to encourage you, if you need any type of therapy, I'm going to leave the link down below as well. I personally use Grow Therapy online. It is all virtual. You can pick a therapist based on, your beliefs, whatever it is. You can search it, and based on your insurance, they do take insurance. Um, so I do have a copay through my insurance, but it's very low, the copay. So I do every other week visits. Um, and it's just been a blessing, y'all, being able to have that outlet of someone that I can talk to and I don't feel judged. I actually feel seen. She's an ADHD person herself, my therapist. She's a believer as well, a Christian. She's also a mother of an ADHD daughter. So to me, it's beautiful, because I really feel seen in all aspects of my life. Um, so yeah, I just want to encourage you to seek the help that you need. Let this be your reminder. And maybe after me sharing why I pursued my diagnosis, maybe you just feel a tug like, listen, I need to do the same thing. Go for it. Like, you have my support 100%. Go for it. I'm all about self advocacy. I'm all about learning about yourself, embracing who you are and who God has truly called you to be. And He makes no mistakes. And I've said this before, He makes no mistakes. And so He knows all things. And we're going to get through this, y'all. And I just want to shout out my husband. I am going to have him on the podcast very soon. Um, he knew, he already knew that I had ADHD. Like, he had done his research and educated himself to better understand his wife, and I appreciate that so much from him. And so, he was just very on board, like, yeah, do what you got to do. And I cried. I mean, I cried, and he knows this, but I'm also just so grateful that he's accepting me and learning more about ADHD to better understand me. And I just think it's beautiful. And I'm just so grateful for him. My family, my friends, they've been super supportive. Because that's another thing. You need a group of people that are really going to understand you, are going to embrace you, are going to support you. They're not going to try to change you or who you are, or who you were meant to be. um so I'm just grateful for my friends. Shout out to them, shout out to my church family, and just everyone in my circle, everyone around me. I'm just very, very grateful. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you guys. And like I said, I will definitely have more episodes to come about this. I will see you guys again on another episode of the Uniquely Wired podcast. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Uniquely Wired Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this space with me. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share. Until next time.